Leader of the Opposition.
Auditor General said after she exposed the Arrive scam with this $60 million in spending she's been able to find, she says the RCMP, whom she just met about the scandal, will now have to go to court to get a production order to get all of the documents that the Prime Minister is covering up. If the Prime Minister really has nothing to hide in his Arrive scam affair, then why won't he release the documents to both the police and the parliamentary committees investigating so we can get to the bottom of this scandal?
The Honourable Minister for Public Works and...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After having thanked and lauded the work of the Auditor General, our colleague wouldn't certainly want to pretend that she is not able to do her job. Her integrity and her independence are essential to the work of the government. We are grateful for what she does, and we're grateful for what she will be able to continue doing.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, actually, she pointed out that she can't even total up the full cost of the Arrive scam app because many of the documents were still hidden from her, either because they've been destroyed by corrupt Liberal government officials or because the Prime Minister is having them hidden. And now the RCMP will have to get a production order to get all the documents that are being deprived of the parliamentary committees investigating. So once again, a simple yes or no question. Will the Prime Minister hand over every single document that refers to the Arrive scam or GC strategies, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition knows very well that our government is collaborating with parliamentary committees. The Office of the Auditor General, the Border Services Agency is doing an internal review and investigation with respect to many of these matters, and officials have from the very beginning referred to the RCMP any and all information where they think it might be appropriate for the RCMP to investigate. The government will always cooperate with these lawful authorities to ensure that they can do the work that Canadians properly expect them to do.
Always will.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Arrive scam scandal is so bad that even former NDP leader Tom Mulcair has taken note. He said, but with the revelations of the past few days, I have to face the facts. This is the first major Canadian political scandal since the sponsorship scandal, and it's likely to be even bigger. Given that the NDP's own former leader is saying this Prime Minister is not worth the cost or corruption, why are they keeping him in power?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we thought that that level of exaggeration would be exclusive to the Leader of the Opposition. I can't speak for Mr. Mulcair. What I can tell Canadians, Mr. Speaker, is that the government takes these circumstances extraordinarily seriously. We accept the recommendations of the Auditor General. We have at all times worked with parliamentary committees and senior officials to ensure they have the tools necessary to investigate these matters and, of course, to hold to account those that may have done something inappropriate.
The Honourable Member from Regina Capel.
This Prime Minister is not worth the cost or the corruption, and his Arrive scam app is just like the Liberal government, costly and corrupt. Look at the facts. Two buddies, a basement office, an IT company that does no IT work yet got a $20 million contract for IT, and now the Auditor General tells us that she can't track all the costs. Quote, we didn't find records to accurately show how much was spent on what, who did the work, or how and why decisions were made. Will the Prime Minister order his officials to turn over all the documents, stop blocking this investigation, and call for a full RCMP investigation?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, it may surprise my honourable friend, but the government doesn't actually direct the National Police
doesn't know that.
In terms of investigations. We have confidence, Mr. Speaker, that the RCMP will take the important responsibility they have seriously and do all the work that is required. We have complete faith in the RCMP's independence and in their ability to look into all these matters. And more importantly, Mr. Speaker, our government is also always available to work with parliamentary committees, the Auditor General's office, to ensure that every document is available so that this important matter can be resolved.
No other government. The honourable member from Regina Capel.
They voted against calling in the Auditor General in the first place and blocked multiple attempts at committees to get to the truth. And while the rest of the country viewed the pandemic as a difficult time full of hardship, the Liberal government saw it as an opportunity to enrich their friends. They got caught funneling $1 billion to the We organization. A former Liberal MP got a sole source contract worth millions for the pandemic, and now we find out that their app cost 750 times what it should have, didn't work, and wasn't needed. The Auditor General says the RCMP is going to have to get a court order to get the documents. Why should it take a warrant for Canadians to find out what they did with their money?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, it doesn't take a warrant for Canadians to see that our government has been transparent both with the Auditor General and our government has been transparent, Mr. Speaker, with parliamentary committees. The facts may bother my friend, but he knows very well that the Auditor General is empowered to do all of this important work. We've accepted the report of the Auditor General. We'd acted on a number of recommendations before receiving the report because we'd asked the procurement ombudsperson to look into this matter. And, Mr. Speaker, we value the importance of respecting taxpayers' money and will always do that.
L'honorable député de
The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, where was the minister on November 1st, 2022? Because here in the House there was a vote. The official opposition, the member for Carleton, the leader of the Conservatives, asked that the Auditor General examine the situation at ArriveCan. And what did the Liberals do? What did the minister do? They voted against that motion. Now today, we're calling for access to all the documents. And if the minister wants to hide from that request again, he should do the opposite. The government should show some dignity for once and allow full light to be shed on the Arrive scam scandal. The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague is quite right to insist on how important the Auditor General's work is. She released a report with some troubling findings and some solid, sound recommendations. He says we're hiding behind something, but that's not true. We shared all the information with the RCMP and the AG, and we will with any other organization that needs access to that information. The honourable member, the good news is that, yes, the Auditor General was able to do her job. But the problem is that this government didn't want her to. Imagine if she hadn't been able to do her job. People might have thought ArriveCan was no big deal. But no, it's the biggest scandal in Canadian history. That's the reality, Mr. Speaker. An $80,000 contract wound up costing at least $60 million. And it makes no sense. Where was the minister in November 2022 when we were calling for an investigation into this? The Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Not only did the Auditor General do her work, she did an excellent job of it, and we appreciate it. And it will help us to continue to put in place whatever we need to, even though it was a crisis and there was a requirement for urgent action, but a crisis is no excuse for not following the basic rules. Those should have continued to apply.